The more muscle you use, the more muscle you build. And you use more muscle using free weights. Now that right there is tip number 1 for 4 tips, or actually I'm gonna make this 5 tips. Let's see how this goes. Maybe 4 or 5 tips on how to get nicer arms. That's number 1. Use free weights. You'll get nicer arms with it that way because you use more muscle and you use your stabilizer muscles as well. You don't do that on machines. Tip number 2 is that you have to go all the way up and all the way down. Now look, I know this sounds so common sense, but check yourself in the mirror next time you go work out, because so often, in the beginning you have the best intentions, right? Let's say on a tricep push down, bam, bam, but then you get tired and it turns more into a wah, wah, wah. If you do those half reps, then guess what? Half reps equal half muscle. Partial reps equal partial muscle. You don't want that. Number 3 is to actually think about the muscle that you're working. Have what's called a mind-muscle connection. If you're doing this and you're thinking about what's for dinner tonight, you're not gonna activate as much muscle as if you were to actually think about your triceps as you work them. Studies have actually shown that if you think about the muscle that you're working, you're gonna activate more muscles, and the more muscle you use, the more muscle you build. But tip number 4 is a hard one, and that is to watch your TUT, time under tension. Try to keep the exercise going for at least 30 seconds. Let's say you're doing a barbell bicep curl. You bring it up in 1 second, 1, and you bring it down in 2 seconds. 1, 2. If you need to do 30 seconds, then every rep is what? 1 plus 2. So that's 3 seconds per rep. That means you need to do at least 10 reps in order to keep that 30 seconds of time under tension. Now, most people will tell you that 45 seconds is the ideal, but work up to 30 seconds first. And if you feel like that's no longer a challenge, go to 45 seconds. Because what that does is that when you're doing that bicep curl or tricep extension or whatever you're doing, you're depriving your muscle from oxygen. Do all the reps in a row. That's the hardest part. It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger said, it's those last couple of reps that matter the most. It's those last couple of reps that build all the muscle. But it's those last couple of reps that nobody wants to do, because that's when it really burns. Biceps and triceps, go all out until your arms fall off. That's okay. That's not really gonna tax into your central nervous system as much as grinding it out on a squat roll. So I hope that makes sense, guys. Tip number 5, probably the most important one, and it has nothing to do with barbells, dumbbells, free weights. Cut out the cookies. That's what you need to do. If you keep eating bad food, you're never gonna get that definition that you want. But once you cut out that sugar, your fat cells are starving, and your fat cells shrink, 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 shrink. Now what happens when your fat cells shrink? Your muscle is revealed. Hey, here's an idea. Eat good for 7 days straight. 7 days, not 5 days. Because if you do it 7 days, it's easy. Anybody can do anything for 7 days, but if you do it for 7 days, that means it includes the weekend too, because that's when most people mess up. Hope that made sense, guys. 5 tips for you to get nicer arms. Leave a comment, hit like, all that stuff. Look forward to seeing you next video.